face, motherfucker.
Hey, what's up guys, Chris Trini here for Kriscoart Productions. Welcome to this audio react tutorial. I'm really excited to show you guys how to do this because a few of you have been asking how I've done it, and you've probably seen this effect all over YouTube. A lot of channels that either showcase or promote music use it. And that's because instead of just having a still image, and if you don't have a music video, you know, this is the best alternative to keep things interesting and keep things moving in a video on YouTube that has a song that you're trying to show to people. Now, like I said before, I've used this effect in my own videos, which you can check out over here, and I'll post the links down in the description as well. And it's a really cool effect. It's really simple and it's really fast to do. It's actually incredibly fast how you can do it. Now, I want to point out that no external plugins are going to be used in this tutorial. Sometimes I know that it's really annoying when I'm using something that I've paid for and that doesn't come straight with After Effects. So with that being said, let's jump into After Effects and let's get started. Alright, so to get started, as usual, we're going to want to create a new composition. To do that, I'm going to go under Composition, New Composition, and you're going to see that I've changed some of my settings. Usually you might have 1920 by 1080 resolution. That is full HD. I've changed the height to 810 pixels just because it stretches it out a bit and it makes it look almost anamorphic and cinematic, which is kind of appealing in my opinion. 24 frames per second is good. Pixel aspect ratio, you can leave that to square pixels, and usually the duration, you want to have that the same length as your song that you're using, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to leave it to 30 seconds exact. Everything else looks fine, so I'm going to click OK, and we have our new composition. Alright, so like I mentioned before, this effect is super easy to do, and one of the first steps that we're going to do is create a new solid. So in a new solid, you can make it any color that you like. I'm just going to pick a bright red just to tell it apart from all the other layers that I'm going to have in my timeline just to keep things organized. Click OK. We can name this Audio React. Click OK. And you can see that I already searched it on my effects and presets, but if you type in audio, these two will pop up and you're going to want to drag audio spectrum onto your new solid. So you're going to see these dots on your composition here, and we're going to want to match the width of this effect to match your composition. So to do that, I'm going to go in the start point, type in 0, and then for the end point, I'm going to type in the width of my composition, which in my case is 1920. So now you're going to see that it fits perfectly on the width of our composition. So the second thing that we're going to want to do is import our song. So I already have it imported in my project here. It's a song that I recently made. So I'm going to drag and drop that into my timeline. I'm going to go back to selecting my solid, and under the effects controls panel, I'm going to change the audio layer to be the song that we want. So the effect is pretty much already working, and it's that simple to set it up, but we're going to tweak it just a little bit to make it look nice. So instead of just having these pink lines, we're going to make it look a little bit more interesting. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the amount of frequency bands, and as I increase this to, let's say, 200, you can see what that does. It just adds more lines and it makes your waveform a little bit more detailed. So I'm going to actually increase to 500. Now be careful on how much you increase this because it gets pretty intense on your computer. Next thing, the maximum height, that's how much these lines react to your audio pretty much. So you can see that as I increase this, it makes it a little bit more extreme. So anything beyond this point is preference. Alright, so before I go any further on this, I'm actually going to create a new solid, and we're going to create a background for this. So black is fine, doesn't really matter. We'll name this BG for background. Click OK. We'll put this below the audio react layer, and we're going to type in under effects and presets ramp, and we're going to drag that onto our new solid here. I'm going to set this to be a radial ramp. I'm going to set this to the center of our composition, and then I'm going to drag this point out. There we go. Now instead of black on the center, I actually want it to be like a dark, let's do it a dark orange. So that looks pretty good. Click OK. And then instead of white on the outside, we'll pick black. Like I said before, this is all up to you guys and whatever matches with what you're trying to do. What I'm going to do also is increase the ramp scatter. That's noise to the ramp. It makes it a little bit smoother, and it just looks a little bit better in my opinion. And then the next thing is I'm going to import a picture that I took. I'm going to drag that below the background layer. In my case, I'm going to have to scale this image down since it's really high resolution. And then I'm going to set the background layer with the ramp effect to be set to overlay. So now you see that if I solo the image that I imported, this is the picture that I imported, and with that solid with the ramp, that's kind of what that does. If it's a little too extreme, you know, you can maybe bring it down a bit. But the main idea is to not have the background image to be too distracting. You know, our center focus is our waveform over here reacting to the music. So going back to that, we are now gonna mess around with these settings to make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye and to match with the background colors a little bit more. So instead of these ugly bright ratchet pinks, we're gonna select a more of a warm orange color to it. So for the inside color, I'm probably gonna pick something fairly bright, and then for the outside color, I'll probably pick like a dark orange, almost like a red orange. So there we go. Next thing I'm going to add to this is a glow effect. So I'll go ahead and type in glow. I'm going to drag and drop that onto my audio react layer. This gives it a nice little glow effect to it. You can play around with these settings, decrease the threshold a little bit, or maybe increase it. Let's see, the glow radius, I'll increase that a little bit. It's not looking too bad. But before we tweak the look of it, let's go back to the settings of the audio spectrum effect itself. Now we've looked at how to change color and how to mess around with this part of the effect, but there's a couple other things here that are worth mentioning. The display options can actually change the look of your waveform quite a bit. If I go from digital to analog lines, you can see what that does. It's and then you can go under analog dots and you can see what that does. A cool thing to do is actually combining the three of these. So let's say I duplicate my layer. What I can do is the bottom layer, I can increase the maximum height, so I can exaggerate that quite a bit. And then for the top layer, I can switch it. Instead of analog dots, I can do digital. So now we're seeing a different type of two different type of waveforms going on at the same time. And another thing that I can do is I can change. Right now it's showing both sides, but I can also do it on one side, so just the top side, or just the bottom side. So that's what side B and side A are, and you can do side A and B, so that's what we had originally. So you can definitely play around with all these settings and create some very interesting things. There's a few other things that you can mess around with, such as the thickness. It's all pretty self-explanatory. The thickness is like the thickness of each bar. You can do softness, which let's increase that. That kind of softens each line. And play around with these settings and see what all of these do. One cool thing that's really worth mentioning also is you can create a path with a mask, and you can actually have this this sort of waveform follow that path. So if you ever see like a logo and there's like a circle with these kind of waveforms around it, that's how they did it. They made a circular mask and then they selected that mask. So you can create a lot of interesting things. But yeah, I want to keep it short and simple, so that will probably be for another tutorial. But you get the main idea on how easy it is to create these sort of effects, and it's really interesting to watch. And it keeps your viewer locked onto your video instead of just having like a boring image. Alright guys, that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. If you did like it, please hit that like button, share it with your friends, and if this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, something that you liked or something that you didn't like, post it in the comment section down below, and I will most likely reply to it and read every single comment that I receive. Alright guys, my name is Kriscoart for Kriscoart Productions, and I will see you next time.